What if I told you that some of Islam's greatest and most respected scholars, the very architects of Qur'anic commentary, once wrote in crystal clear words that the land of Israel was given by God Himself to the children of Israel? Yes, you heard that right. Not modern politics, not Zionist propaganda, but the voices of Muslim sages from centuries past. This is not the story you were taught. This is not the story that dominates today's news. But it is the story written in ink by the hands of Islam's earliest commentators, transmitted across generations and preserved in the classical libraries of tafsir. And now, we are going to uncover it. In Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 21, we hear the voice of Moses addressing his people. "O my people, enter the holy land which Allah has written for you, and do not turn back in your tracks, for then you will turn losers." The Arabic words are direct and uncompromising. Kataba Allahu lakum. Literally, God has written it for you. Not lent, not temporarily permitted, but written, as if carved into eternity. So how did Muslim scholars of the classical age interpret these words? Let's go back more than 1,000 years, to Baghdad, to the home of Al-Tabari, the father of Qur'anic exegesis. Born in the 9th century, his Tafsir al-Tabari is still considered one of the most authoritative commentaries in Islam. Al-Tabari, when reaching verse 521, does not hesitate. He says clearly, Allah assigned this land to the children of Israel as their residence and inheritance. He even transmits traditions from early authorities who affirmed that the land was destined for them by divine decree. In his view, there was no ambiguity. The Holy Land, Palestine, Syria, Jericho, Jerusalem, was written by God for the Jewish people. Fast forward to 13th century Spain. Islamic civilization in Al-Andalus was flourishing, producing poets, philosophers, and jurists. There another giant arose, Al-Qurtubi. In his monumental commentary, he echoes Al-Tabari's voice. On verse 521, he writes that the Holy Land was destined and allotted to the Israelites. For him, it was not metaphor, not allegory. It was a divine allotment. Imagine that for a moment. Centuries before modern Zionism, before politics twisted religion into weapon, Muslim scholars in Spain acknowledged openly the Quran itself ties the Jewish people to their land. Now we move to Damascus in the 14th century. There lived Ibn Kathir, one of the most famous Quran commentators of all time. His works are still printed today, quoted by preachers across the Muslim world. When he came to verse 521, Ibn Kathir used almost the same words. That is, which Allah has decreed for you and destined for you. But he did not stop there. In his commentary on another crucial verse, Surah Al-Isra 17:104, Ibn Kathir recalls God's command to the Israelites, "Dwell in the land, and when the promise of the hereafter comes to pass, we shall bring you forth as a mixed assembly." Ibn Kathir affirms God settled the Israelites in the Holy Land, and this divine settlement was real. Once again, no modern politics, no propaganda, but the classical words of Islam's own scholars. And then there was al-Zamakhshari, a brilliant linguist and theologian of the 11th century. In his Tafsir al-Kashaf, he analyzed the Quranic phrase, "Kataba Allahu lakum." His conclusion? This was not a loose expression, not symbolic poetry, but a binding decree. The land was literally written by God for the children of Israel. Even earlier still, in the 7th century, just a generation after the Prophet Muhammad, lived Mujahid ibn Jabr, a direct student of Ibn Abbas, cousin of the Prophet, and one of Islam's first interpreters. Mujahid said plainly, "It is the land of Jericho, Palestine, and Syria, which God gave to the children of Israel." This testimony from the earliest layers of tafsir was preserved and repeated by later giants like Al-Tabari. It was never erased. It was never forgotten in scholarly libraries, only silenced in public discourse. Now pause with me here. Think of the weight of what we've uncovered. When today's debates rage about who owns the land, when political slogans are shouted from pulpits and rallies, how many realize that Islam's earliest scholars themselves wrote, "This land was given to the children of Israel"? What if the world knew this? What if both Muslims and Jews returned to the original sources, not the propaganda of modern times? The silence of these testimonies is deafening, and the longer they remain hidden, the louder history itself cries out Israel. What do you think? Do these hidden words change the way you see history, faith, and the struggle for truth? If this story opened your eyes, don't let it end here. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button to let more people discover this hidden history. And subscribe to the channel, because many more stories, lost, silenced, and buried, are waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for watching.